There are places that feel light the moment you enter them, and there are places that quietly weigh upon the heart. A home is not only walls and a roof, it is a vessel that holds every thought, every word, and every emotion that has ever moved through it. Over time, this unseen accumulation begins to shape the atmosphere, just as a still pond reflects what has fallen into it. When the energy within a home becomes disturbed, it does not announce itself loudly. It reveals itself in subtle, almost invisible ways, waiting for a mindful eye to notice. One of the first signs is a constant sense of restlessness. You may find it difficult to sit in peace even in your own space. The body may be still, but the mind wanders endlessly, as if trying to escape something unseen. This is not merely distraction, it is the echo of unsettled energy that has not been acknowledged or released. Another sign is the presence of unnecessary conflict. Small disagreements grow quickly, words become sharper, and silence feels heavy rather than calm. When a space holds unresolved emotions, it amplifies them, turning minor tensions into recurring storms. The home begins to mirror the inner turbulence of those who live within it. A third sign is the loss of clarity. Decisions feel harder to make, thoughts seem clouded, and even simple tasks require more effort than before. Just as a room filled with smoke obscures vision, a home burdened with stagnant energy clouds the mind, making it difficult to see things as they truly are. There is also the feeling of constant fatigue. Even after rest, the body feels heavy as though carrying an invisible weight. This is not always physical exhaustion, but the draining effect of an environment that does not nourish the spirit. Energy that is not renewed becomes stale, and in its stillness it takes more than it gives. Another subtle sign is the avoidance of certain spaces within the home. There may be a room, a corner, or even a seat that feels uncomfortable without clear reason. This discomfort is often the residue of past emotions or experiences that have settled there, waiting to be cleared with awareness and intention. Clutter, too, is not just a physical condition but an energetic one. When objects accumulate without purpose, they hold on to fragments of attention and memory. This creates a sense of being overwhelmed, as if the space itself is holding on to what should have been released long ago. Finally, there is the absence of joy. The home no longer feels like a place of refuge, but merely a place to pass through. Laughter becomes rare, silence feels empty instead of peaceful, and the warmth that once filled the space begins to fade. To cleanse such a space, one must begin not with force but with awareness. Open the windows and allow fresh air to move freely, for movement brings renewal. Let natural light enter, as light reveals what has been hidden. Simplify the surroundings, keeping only what serves a purpose or brings genuine peace. More importantly, bring mindfulness into the home. Sit in stillness even for a few moments each day and observe the breath. Speak words that are kind and truthful, for sound carries energy that shapes the environment. Let go of what no longer serves, whether it is an object, a thought, or a lingering resentment. A home becomes what is cultivated within it. When attention is given to peace, peace grows. When awareness replaces neglect, clarity returns. The transformation does not come from outside forces, but from the quiet, steady intention to create a space that reflects balance, compassion, and presence. In this way, the home is not only cleansed, it becomes a place where the mind can rest, the heart can open, and the spirit can breathe freely once again. A toxic home energy reveals itself through subtle signs like restlessness, discomfort, and a constant feeling of unease rather than obvious problems. There are certain feelings that arise when one enters a space, subtle yet unmistakable, like a whisper that the heart cannot ignore. In a home where energy has grown heavy or stagnant, this feeling often manifests as a persistent restlessness that seems to have no cause. Sitting quietly may feel impossible, as if the mind refuses to settle and the body cannot fully relax. The space itself seems to vibrate with tension, though no visible reason can be found. It is as if the walls, the floors, and even the furniture have absorbed the unspoken emotions of the past grief, anger, frustration, or fear, and continue to echo them quietly into the present. This restlessness is not merely a reflection of the individual's own inner turmoil. It is a dialogue between the occupant and the accumulated energy of the environment. One may find that thoughts wander incessantly, leaping from one worry to another without pause, even during moments meant for rest or reflection. Sleep may become fragmented, with dreams that feel heavier or more charged than usual, carrying fragments of unresolved tension from the home itself. The subtle irritations of daily life seem magnified, small inconveniences creating disproportionate frustration. Even those with a calm disposition may feel a sense of unease, as though an invisible pressure sits upon the shoulders. This is because energy in a home is not passive, it interacts with those who inhabit it, shaping emotions and thoughts in ways that are often imperceptible. Like a river slowed by debris, the flow of energy can stagnate, leaving the environment feeling thick, uncomfortable, and oppressive. Recognizing this restlessness as a symptom of the home's energy is the first step toward transformation. One begins to notice patterns. Certain rooms that feel heavier than others, times of day when the discomfort intensifies, or recurring moods that arise without clear cause. By observing these patterns without judgment, awareness becomes a tool for understanding. Awareness allows one to see that the unease is not a personal failing, but a sign that the environment itself requires attention. It invites a gentle, patient approach to restoring harmony. Simple acts such as opening windows to let fresh air circulate, allowing sunlight to warm the corners, or spending intentional moments of stillness in mindful observation can begin to shift the energy. The key is to meet the restlessness not with resistance but with acknowledgement, understanding that the home is a living space shaped by energy as much as by walls. In this way, restlessness becomes a guide rather than a burden, pointing the way toward practices that bring clarity, peace, and balance back into the space. Over time, as awareness deepens and small actions accumulate, the once heavy, restless energy begins to lighten, allowing both the home and its inhabitants to breathe more freely. Frequent conflicts, emotional tension, and negative communication within the home indicate accumulated unresolved energy. Conflict within a home is rarely random, and when it begins to appear more frequently, it often signals something deeper than simple disagreements. In a space where energy has become dense or unsettled, even minor differences between those who live there can flare into arguments, sharp words, or lingering tension. These conflicts are rarely about the surface issue alone. They are echoes of unaddressed emotions, unspoken resentments, or past experiences that the home has absorbed over time. A disagreement over something small like a misplaced item, a forgotten chore, or a trivial misunderstanding can suddenly feel overwhelming, creating a storm far larger than the initial spark. This happens because the home itself holds memory, storing the vibrations of anger, frustration, or anxiety that have passed through it. Every raised voice, harsh word, or negative thought leaves a subtle imprint, accumulating layer upon layer until the environment becomes charged with unease. Living in such a space, people may find themselves snapping at one another more quickly, feeling impatient, or experiencing emotional reactions that seem out of proportion to the situation. The pattern becomes cyclical, tension rises, conflict occurs, emotions linger, and the energy becomes even heavier, waiting to be addressed. What is often overlooked is that the home mirrors the collective inner state of its occupants. If unresolved emotions are carried inside and not consciously released, they settle into the environment, turning it into a reflection of inner turbulence. In such homes, silence may feel heavy rather than calm, and ordinary interactions carry an undercurrent of strain. Awareness of this dynamic is crucial. Noticing that conflicts occur repeatedly in the same space or that arguments escalate in familiar patterns is an invitation to look beyond the immediate triggers and recognize the underlying energetic imbalance. Addressing these subtle imbalances does not require confrontation or blame. Instead, it begins with creating intentional space for clarity and peace. Clearing physical clutter, letting light and air move freely, and practicing mindful communication all contribute to resetting the energy. Simple actions such as speaking with gentleness, expressing gratitude, or taking moments of silent reflection help to create a sense of calm and clarity, gradually dissolve the charge that fuels recurring disputes. Over time, the home begins to absorb these calmer, more harmonious vibrations. It becomes easier to navigate disagreements without escalation, to respond rather than react, and to experience interactions that are rooted in understanding rather than tension. Recognizing conflict as a sign of stagnant energy transforms it from a source of frustration into an opportunity for restoration. When the home's energy is consciously tended, it no longer amplifies minor conflicts but instead supports a more balanced, harmonious environment. This shift allows relationships to flourish, conversations to become nourishing rather than draining, and the overall atmosphere to become one of peace, where the presence of each inhabitant is met with ease and respect. In this way, repeated conflict is not merely a challenge, it is a guide, showing where attention is needed to restore the natural flow of energy, harmony, and understanding within the home. Mental fog, lack of clarity, and unexplained fatigue are effects of stagnant or heavy energy in the living space. Clarity of mind is one of the most subtle yet vital reflections of the energy within a home. When a space becomes burdened by stagnant or negative energy, the ability to think clearly, make decisions, and feel mentally grounded begins to waver. Tasks that were once simple may now feel cumbersome or confusing, and choices that once seemed straightforward suddenly require excessive effort to resolve. It is as though the air itself has thickened, and the mind struggles to move through it freely. This lack of clarity is not merely an internal struggle, it is deeply influenced by the environment, which holds traces of past emotions, conflicts, and unexpressed thoughts. Just as a room filled with smoke obscures vision, a home saturated with unresolved energy clouds perception, making it difficult to see situations, relationships, or even oneself with accuracy. Thoughts may circle endlessly, repeating worries or doubts, while solutions feel just out of reach. Indecision becomes a constant companion, and the ability to focus diminishes. Inhabitants may notice themselves feeling forgetful, distracted, or disconnected from their surroundings. Even moments of creativity or inspiration may be blocked as the stagnant energy suppresses spontaneity and insight. The subtle signs of this clouded clarity often go unnoticed because they creep in slowly day by day. One may assume that fatigue, stress, or external pressures are to blame without recognizing that the environment itself is influencing the mind. Patterns emerge. Certain rooms may feel heavier, the mornings may feel more sluggish, or the same thoughts seem to return without resolution. Recognizing this as a reflection of the home's energy rather than a personal flaw is essential, for it allows one to take intentional steps toward restoration. Clearing clutter and simplifying the surroundings removes visual and energetic obstacles, giving the mind room to breathe. Allowing natural light to fill the space illuminates not just the physical environment but also the mental landscape, dispelling shadows that obscure understanding. Fresh air circulation and the introduction of natural elements, such as plants or flowing water, help to revitalize stagnant energy, encouraging clarity and calm. Beyond the physical environment, cultivating mindfulness within the home is essential. Engaging in practices that anchor attention, such as meditation, focused breathing, or silent reflection, trains the mind to notice and release repetitive, unnecessary thoughts. Speaking with awareness and intention also reshapes the energy, as words carry vibrations that affect both occupants and the space itself. Over time, these efforts gradually dissolve the haze that clouded perception, allowing insight and discernment to return. Decisions become easier, thoughts flow more naturally, and moments of mental fatigue decrease. The home, once a subtle source of mental obstruction, transforms into a supportive environment that nurtures clarity, focus, and inner calm. In this way, the loss of clarity becomes not merely a challenge but a guiding signal, encouraging a mindful response that restores balance and allows both mind and environment to function in harmony. The energy of the home and the clarity of the mind are intimately connected, and by attending to one, the other is renewed, fostering a space where thought, intention, and awareness can flourish together. Physical clutter and avoidance of certain areas reflect deeper energetic blockages and emotional residue. Fatigue that lingers despite rest is one of the most insidious signs of a home burdened by stagnant or heavy energy. Unlike ordinary tiredness, which follows physical exertion or emotional strain, this exhaustion feels pervasive and inexplicable. Even after a full night's sleep or moments of quiet relaxation, the body feels weighed down and the mind lacks its usual sharpness. This is because the energy within a home is not inert, it interacts with those who inhabit it, influencing mood, vitality, and overall well-being. When unresolved emotions, negativity, or tension accumulate in a space, they create an invisible heaviness that gradually seeps into every corner of life. People living in such environments often report feeling drained soon after entering certain rooms, or a sense of lethargy that seems to follow them throughout the day. The body may feel tense or tight, as if carrying an invisible burden, and the mind may struggle to focus, making even simple tasks feel laborious. This fatigue is not a reflection of weakness, but a sign that the environment itself requires attention. It acts as a silent messenger, alerting inhabitants to the presence of energy that has not been released or transformed. Over time, this accumulated energy can affect not only mental and emotional well-being, but also physical health. Minor ailments may appear more frequently, stress responses may be heightened, and motivation can diminish. The environment, in essence, subtly dictates the rhythm of life within the home, and when it is weighed down by stagnant energy, life itself feels heavier. Recognizing this exhaustion as a signal rather than a mere inconvenience is the first step toward restoration. Simple adjustments to the space can have profound effects. Introducing movements such as opening windows to allow fresh air to circulate or walking mindfully through each room can help disperse stagnant energy. Light is equally important. Sunlight or warm, natural illumination lifts the invisible weight, reminding both body and mind of vitality. Decluttering is another essential practice, as accumulated objects not only crowd the physical space but also trap attention and energy, preventing renewal. Beyond physical adjustments, cultivating intentional presence within the home strengthens its vibrancy. Practices such as mindful breathing, gentle movement, or meditation allow the body to reconnect with the rhythm of life and release absorbed tension. Speaking with calmness, engaging in acts of kindness, and consciously expressing gratitude infuse the environment with positive vibrations that counteract the heaviness. Over time, these practices transform the home from a source of drain into a reservoir of energy. The subtle heaviness begins to lift, and inhabitants notice that rest feels restorative once more, motivation returns, and the mind becomes more alert. In this way, persistent fatigue is not merely a symptom but a guide, pointing toward the need for mindful attention and cleansing. By recognizing and responding to this signal, one restores the natural flow of energy, allowing the body, mind, and spirit to function in harmony once again. The home becomes not a drain but a sanctuary, supporting vitality and presence in every moment, and allowing life within its walls to regain its natural ease and balance. Cleansing begins with awareness through light, fresh air, simplicity, mindful living, and cultivating peace within the space. There are often corners of a home that feel heavier than others, spaces that instinctively cause discomfort or unease without any clear reason. These subtle sensations are not accidents but reflections of energy that has settled and lingered over time. Certain rooms, corners, or even specific seats may carry echoes of past experiences, unresolved emotions, or unspoken tensions. One may find themselves avoiding these areas, making excuses to stay elsewhere, or feeling a strange pull of anxiety when entering. This is a sign that the space itself is holding on to fragments of energy that need attention. The home, like the mind, retains memory. It remembers emotions and experiences as vibrations that subtly shape the atmosphere. Over days, months, and years, these residual energies accumulate, creating pockets of heaviness that can affect both physical comfort and emotional well-being. People may notice a strange tension when they sit in a particular chair or pass through a hallway, an inexplicable heaviness that seems to press upon the shoulders or chest. Even the light and air may feel muted in these spaces, amplifying the sense of stagnation. Often these uncomfortable areas correspond with places where arguments took place, where grief was quietly endured, or where daily stresses repeatedly converged. The energy of these moments, if not acknowledged or released, remains woven into the fabric of the home, influencing how it feels to inhabit. Recognizing these subtle signs requires awareness and mindfulness. One begins by noticing the sensations that arise when moving through the home. A tightness in the body, a fleeting anxiety, a reluctance to enter a particular space. These feelings are messages, not mere coincidences, signaling areas that would benefit from cleansing and attention. Cleansing the energy of such spaces can be approached gently and intentionally. Opening windows to allow fresh air to circulate and sunlight to reach dark corners helps to shift stagnant energy and bring warmth and light back into the environment. Removing clutter, rearranging furniture, and introducing objects or plants that feel vibrant and alive can refresh the energy in ways that the mind immediately senses. Beyond physical adjustments, cultivating mindfulness within the space is essential. Sitting quietly in the uncomfortable area, observing one's breath, and holding an intention of peace and release can gradually shift the energy. Speaking affirmations or expressing gratitude for the space transforms its vibration from heaviness to harmony. These practices encourage the lingering energy to move and dissipate rather than remaining trapped. Over time, spaces that once caused discomfort begin to feel lighter, welcoming, and alive. The avoidance disappears, replaced by ease and a sense of presence. By paying attention to these subtle signals, one not only restores the home but also nurtures one's own inner state. The home becomes a mirror of care, mindfulness, and intention, reflecting balance and serenity rather than tension. In this way, discomfort in particular areas is not a burden but a guide, showing where attention and conscious care are most needed to create a home that supports both body and spirit in harmony.